I'm DaJuan Johnson. Welcome to the Think Bigger Actors podcast, where I share with you different kinds of talks and coachings and conversations with actors and industry professionals on thinking bigger. I hope these conversations will help you on your path to success, because I believe success is an inside job that starts with your mindset and the thoughts you hold dominant in your mind. Change your thoughts and you change your world. Your path to thinking bigger begins now. I'm just sitting here and I am looking at your face. I'm so excited to talk to you, Miata.
I am so excited to talk to you. Honestly, I feel like I haven't seen you in person, in years, but
Right?
like this.
Yeah. Well, before we even jump in and have a love fest with each other, I have a bone to pick with you. Okay. And I just want to say, how dare you come on my podcast? And after I was doing all this research with you, I got to your Abundance Bound page, abundancebound.com. And it says all the people you've worked with on their podcast or on their summits, and DaJuan is not there. And I just want to let you know, how dare you?
I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness.
We have done summits for like 3 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm okay. No, I'm kidding. I was like, well, we're going to put this one up there, right? I mean, we'll
talk to me. The whole website thing, that's another whole, right? Adventure.
Yeah. It looks great, by the way. I think it looks really slick. It looks really great. And I thought I would just start that. And I'm a little bit more, well, I hope I make it on the wall this time.
You're totally. Yeah, we have to have a podcast wall.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, is what you see on our website are our clients, like the organizations that hire us, basically. And so we definitely need to have a podcast wall, because that's also the way that people can listen to all of these incredible conversations. So that's, I got to do.
Well, now
that you have appropriately shamed me, I will make that happen. Yes.
You came on this podcast to be shamed. No, not at all. Not at all. It was so wonderful to just do a little research on like how you've been, what's been going on. And, for so long, you have a warm place in my heart. I was talking to Dr. B today, Dr. Beasley, for DEI, and we were talking about that today, and we brought you up. But what I really just want to just say is, how are things going in your world? Because you are, maybe something's changed, the Actors Advocate, and you were working over at the SAG Foundation for a bit, and now you're fully in Abundance Bound. People can find you there, awesome programs, awesome emails I get and stuff. And I just wanted, what's the status of what's going on with Miata right now?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great question. So I think the thing is that the status of what was going on with Miata was always a little bit confusing to people, because our contract with the Entertainment Community Fund, that was formerly the Actors Fund, that was always a contract with Abundance Bound. Oh. So Abundance Bound, we're about to celebrate 18 years of being in business. So yes, that was a wonderful partnership for a period of time, I think about 8 years. And they licensed our curriculum. And obviously it was incredible for me, for us as a company, to be able to serve my community, because of course I am also an actor. However, I don't know. I'm not sure sort of the best way to say this. A part of what I feel really strongly about, right, is that actors, we are a part of a group of people that I call non-traditional earners, okay? Mm-hmm. These are people who we are all passionate about something that we're creating in the world, and we do not earn like traditional people. We do not get paychecks every 2 weeks. We do not have pension plans or 401ks, right? And benefits and all of that stuff. We have to earn those things every single year. And to me, being a non-traditional earner means two things. One, it means that the traditional financial world, it was not created for us. There is so much out there, right? Books and gurus and all of this stuff. But we have to face something really, really fundamentally true, which is that it was not created for us. And that is why you listen to things that say you should have 6 months of savings, before you even consider doing anything, that say you should absolutely pay off every penny of debt you have before you even consider or think about building wealth. Talk about buying a home, DaJuan. Like buying a home as an actor, as a non-traditional earner. Can we just, come on, the entire structure, it doesn't matter how well you're doing, right? The entire structure makes it incredibly, incredibly difficult. So I believe that as non-traditional earners, we actually have to be financial warriors. We have to be financial Olympians. And where do we learn how to do that? Okay. So the reason ultimately that I felt we needed to exit our contract with the Entertainment Community Fund is because I want our community of actors to take this aspect of their lives and their careers as seriously as they do everything else. And I think the danger with being folded into a social services organization is that we continue to see it as, one, the place we go to when we're in trouble, right? But two, we don't have any investment, any actual investment in the process. And that tends to mean, I think, that many do not take it as seriously as we need to take it. Okay.
Okay.
So,
wait, hold on. All right. There was so much to unpack there.
Oh, so much.
That was, you didn't tell me you were going to come in hot. You know what I mean? Y'all, before she started, she said, I'm turning on the air. Like, I'm coming. Because that is.
I am really coming in hot because I am passionate about this. And I have to tell you that after 18 years, I'm not playing games anymore. Okay. Like, I'm really not, because we have to let go of the starving artist paradigm. And the only way we do that is if we get honest and we get real, right? And please hear me. I loved those 8 years. I loved them. But I stopped feeling that we were effectively growing people to be financial Olympians. And that's what I believe that it takes.
Listen, one of the questions, so I am big on mindset. That's why I think this is a high vibration to conversation for me, automatically just talking to you. I am really, really big on this. And one of the questions I have on my paper that, I think that actors have this mindset. They come from a place of lack, fear, and they perpetuate it, right? We can't afford this. How could you charge me this? This program is too high for this. How can I get head? It's all of this that keeps perpetuating. But then they also, out of the other way, I hear them, don't pay me for my job. Don't pay me for my work. I can act for free. And I'm just really concerned that, what do you think of that? And how do we step out of that mindset, that financial? I hear you, what you're saying. This is not created for us, but yet we have a lot of the consciousness of actors past in us, financial or whatever. It's that we're bringing all of that garbage that we have to strive, we have to struggle, we got to eat top ramen, we have to do all that stuff. Instead of how can we come at this financially smart? Yes. And how can we not think that, if I have to work with Miata and she's going to be $100, that's not, it might be too much, but I know that it's going to get me 10 steps ahead. I don't want to put myself in there because I've divorced myself from that struggle. And I don't believe in it anymore. But what do you think of that? And how do we get out of it?
Yeah. So first of all, I think we get out of it by having these kinds of conversations. I think we get out of it by choosing to be real, by choosing to be honest, right? And I think that we get out of it by choosing to get out of it, right? Abundance Bound very specifically exists to be the financial home for non-traditional earners, right? That is what we have done for 18 years. We teach you specifically how to do it, how to manage money as a non-traditional earner, but we approach that from three places. We approach that believing that your financial relationship requires you to master your mindset, okay? Your management, that is the day-to-day, week-to-week activities, the way you are actually managing however much you have, and making more. Because we as a group have overwhelmingly relinquished our power when it comes to earnings. Right?
Come on, listen, told you she's coming in hot, y'all. It's fire.
And so we have to build all of those muscles. We have to build our money mindset, our money management, and our muscles around making more, right? But we also have to decide to prioritize it, okay? And that's where I am not going to pussyfoot around this anymore. It is where I am clear that we are here to serve the people who have decided to be financial warriors, not to dabble and maybe do a 3-hour course and check a couple boxes, because at the end of the day, are you in this acting career for your lifetime? Or are you in it for a hot minute? Because if you're in it for a hot minute, then, I'm not the person for you. DaJuan's not the person for you, right? But if you're in it for a lifetime, then that is going to require you to show up for a lifetime. Have you read Viola Davis's beautiful memoir, Finding Me?
No, I haven't. Is this so good?
And of course, if you do the audio, she reads it. So it's like, hello, right? Like, can I just listen to Viola talk to me for 6 hours or 8 hours, however long it takes? But she is an inspiration, right? And she is a force as a craftsman, as a producer, as a voice for particularly women of color who are not what the industry has traditionally over the years deemed the beauties, the hotties, however we want to put it. I mean, she is an example of so many things. But one of the things that I have treasured about what she shares in that memoir, but also what she has shared in numerous interviews around the memoir, around the Woman King, again, brilliant.
So good.
Okay. Yeah. She shares that fewer than 1% of actors in any given year earn more than $50,000. Less than 1%. Acting has a 95% unemployment rate, right? 0.04% are ever anything that we would call famous, okay? We also know that when it comes to SAG-AFTRA, so for film and television performers, to qualify for health insurance requires $27,000 a year. $27,000 a year. In any given year, fewer than 1 in 5 qualify for that. Okay. Now, we can share these numbers. She
came with receipts, y'all. She came with receipts.
We can share these numbers and we can la. I'm not listening. Or you dream stealer or, negative Nelly over there. Or we can say, what is mindset? Mindset is not me sitting here and saying, I am rich, I am rich. Mindset is me strengthening how I am showing up with clarity about the game that I have chosen to play, with clarity, right? So if I understand that fewer than 1 in 5 in any given year are earning a $27,000 benchmark, then what am I going to do to ensure that I can keep doing this thing that I proclaim to love? So again, am I wishing and hoping, or am I actually showing up? These are the questions. And I feel like the minute any of us share statistics, people get mad, people get pissy. Look at all that negative energy. It's not about negative energy. I love acting and will be an actor, God willing, until the day I leave this earth. But how does that require me to show up? Because if I'm 30 days away from being evicted, if I can't afford the $150 acting class, let alone the $350 acting class, if I cannot afford to invest in the things that help me grow and help me move forward, creating my own work, creating my own projects, then I am not powerful. And it's not going to work. So those are the conversations that I am really interested in having.
The conversation. That is the conversation. The conversation. I got to tell you something, just as an observation. You know, I've known you, I feel like about a decade. I feel like we have been, it's if not, it's approaching a decade. You've always had a fire. This fire is burning hot. And this fire is a different fire. I think you've said all this, but kind of in a more controlled way, right? It's a gentler way. And this is like you said, I'm tired of holding back. I'm not pussyfooting around this topic. And I think that is very, very, very important. You know, one of the things I have thought about our businesses, our industry, one of the most detrimental things that has been said to us. Actually, I'll tell a story. One of my VIP clients, we laid out her plan. She wanted to be a showrunner. She wanted to write. She wanted to do this thing. She's like, Quinta Brunson is her thing. This is what she wanted to be like. I was like, yes. And so we mapped it out like a 6-month plan. And I looked at it and I said, what do you think about this? And she was like, well, I know we're going to look for an agent at some point. Do you think if I look for this agent, they're going to think I'm less of an actor because of this? And I said, what? I said, you're a brand. And they're like, no. I said, no, could you imagine if you brought all these different things to your agent and this new agent and said, this is what I am, but you're still thinking of this old stuff, right? And I was like, this is the thing that keeps us locked down. Somebody told us, I don't know who they are, we need to name names, that we cannot do anything but be an actor. There are people who are in our community that should be CEOs of a granola company. There are people in our community that could be entrepreneurs that are a car wash thing. There are people in our community that could be making millions of dollars, but they're not because they're locked into what somebody has said to them is the standard of what acting is. Now you got me fired up. I was so upset. We can't write.
That's a lie. It's a lie. And the people peddling that nonsense need to be called out on it. I think it was absolutely massively being peddled when I graduated from university, when I finished at the conservatory, right? That was absolutely being peddled. Yeah. This is all you can do. And if you're serious about it, this is all you can do. Look, financially powerful people have multiple streams of income. Yes. I'm not making up, forgive me, hair in my mouth. I'm not making that up. That is a fact, right? But actors, we have been told and we have bought into this idea that somehow is not true for us. And so the cycle continues, right? Because we're not actually becoming financially powerful. So we continue to just need, right? And then we continue to grow in our resentment of feeling like we're in a position where we are not being valued, but we are not ourselves valuing ourselves. And I think the shift for me is that I understand that there are people who aren't going to like this. I understand there are people who are going to get angry with me and decide they don't want to hear what I have to say. And I have decided that I am okay with that, because I need the people who are ready to hear it to be able to hear it. I believe, right, when I graduated from school, all those many, many years ago, DaJuan, I had a plan. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to be one of those people who thinks they're going to be discovered. I had my budgets, and I read all the business books, and I joined AGVA, the American Guild of Variety Artists, when I was a junior in college, because I understood that I could then sing and perform in places, which I was already doing, and that would allow me to graduate and join SAG, which I did immediately. Like, I had a plan, but there was no one teaching me how to do that. There was no Abundance Bound, obviously, but there was also no DaJuan Johnson. There was also no Audrey Moore teaching us how to be Olympians in our careers. This didn't exist. Also, I want to stress the opportunities for us to create sideline income were much more limited. They're far less limited today. If you're serious, I have actors in our communities who are earning really great incomes while their careers are thriving, and they are doing it with remote, independent, well-paid jobs, right? Exactly. And that didn't so much exist for us, right? So I floundered and I tried. And as I've shared multiple times, I got myself $80,000 into debt, making a ton of mistakes. But what I will also say is I was willing to invest in my education. I invested, yes, in the acting classes and the materials, but I also invested in my financial education. I invested in my growth as a business person, and I will no longer accept people who say I shouldn't have to pay for that education, because it's not true. It's not true that it should be free.
You know, the doctors out there still do continued education. My friend's a dentist and he's been practicing for over 20 years, and he still has to go to a yearly continued education where they tell up, stuff about it. And other spaces, there is an actor tuition out there, I would think, continued education that we get to jump into. And I believe we don't think our industry evolves, and we get to go in there and learn new things about it. And that is the space we get to do this in. I know this is an old story of yours. I've always loved the IHOP story. I think it was IHOP. Maybe it wasn't IHOP. I made it in my head IHOP. It probably wasn't, but where you had to choose between staying there and making that money, or you had to leave. I think you'll have to find that story. I'm not going to make her go through that story again.
It wasn't IHOP, but it could have been IHOP.
It was a restaurant, right?
It was a hotel restaurant in West Hollywood. I won't name them, but yes, it was a hotel restaurant in West Hollywood. Nearly missed a curtain for a very real show because I was in such financial trouble.
Right. I remember that story, and so much I want to talk to you about, but I have to say, I no longer subscribed to that striving artisting, not because, I was on a show for 7 years, and I just started to believe that, what if we thought differently? What if I use my mindset in this area? Because everybody's like, don't buy a house, You haven't made it yet. You haven't been on a show long enough. Don't have kids because you haven't all this stuff. And I was like, well, what are we waiting for? What if I just like know that the vision I have for my life and I'm going in that trajectory, making sure I keep my money together, making sure I do all those things. And we got a house in Los Angeles. And I'll tell you this one thing, everybody, that I don't think I've ever said before. Miata, you touched on it. It would have been easier for me to get a house the 15 years that I was bartending than it was for me to get a house when I was 5 years already on a show. 5 years on the show, 15 years. They were like, well, this is not recurring money. And you only work, what, 4 months a year? Really? So my partner had to be the one on the mortgage. But at the end of the year, we made more of the same amount of money, but I couldn't buy it. I was like,
but again, clarity about the systems, right? Because my husband and we also own a house in West Hollywood, and it was almost laughable what the experience was getting that mortgage. But what I also tell people is that was years ago for us. I work with clients today, series regulars, people earning big money, and they will struggle to get a mortgage. So we have to understand how we have to present our information. We also have to build lists of the mortgage brokers. Like I tell people where not to waste their time, because you can have $1 million in the bank, and I promise you that institution will not give you a mortgage as a non-traditional earner, right? So it's also educating ourselves about how these things actually work. We can complain about it, but we also have to accept it and figure out how we exist in these structures.
Inside of it. I also want to throw out there for everybody that's listening or watching this on YouTube is that, again, if you took stock in what I said, this has been really a 10-year with Miata and I journey. But before Miata, I was reading books, Susie Orman books, 7 Steps to, I was reading that. And one of the things you said to me that I want to make sure I say to everybody is, DaJuan, you weren't taught all this. So give yourself some grace, because I was beating myself up a lot. And then you said right after, maybe she was like this the whole time, and I didn't know. Now that I'm thinking about it, she said right after, you have to have a relationship with money. I might be paraphrasing. You get to have a relationship with money, but you also get to choose, is it good or is it bad? Do you know what I mean? What kind of relationship you want? You might say it a little better, but I remember that. And I was like, I get to choose the relationship I'm going to have with money. And is it something like that? Am I misremembering?
No, and it's really important. Like, I think it's a foundation. It's really the foundation of why we exist. You don't have a choice whether to have a relationship with money or not.
That's what it is. Okay.
It is one of those relationships that you will have from the day you were born until the day that you leave this earth. So once we know that, and once we actually accept that as true, because it is true, right? Then you have to decide, what is the quality of that relationship going to be? And this is where we have to release fantasy thinking, because we know, what does it take to have an excellent relationship with your partner? What does it take to have an excellent relationship with your children? What does it take to have an excellent relationship with your craft as an actor? We know what it takes. So what does it take to have an excellent relationship with money? All of the same things: time, attention, honesty, a sense of humor, balance, love, commitment, time. Again, let me say time, right? And so what we keep doing is we keep acting like, oh, all that money stuff will sort itself out as soon as I have the partner, as soon as I have the acting career, as soon as, and over there, the relationship is like, what? Like, pay attention, hello, you want this relationship to thrive, but yet it's an afterthought. So that, to me, is the question. How are you showing up to that relationship And if most of us are honest, truly honest, the answer is we're not. I'll tell you a quick story, which is that I read this book years ago called The Millionaire Next Door. And I always share with my clients, it's a really boring book. So this is not a book that I recommend reading cover to cover. And it's also now old, right? It's when a lot of the numbers are just no longer relevant. But basically, they did this whole study and they divided people up into two groups, essentially. A group that they called prodigious accumulators of wealth, or PAWs, and under accumulators of wealth, UAWs. And they just did a study on the different behaviors, the different buying patterns of these two groups. And the thing that I have never forgotten is they asked the prodigious accumulators of wealth how much time they spent on their money every month. And whenever I ask people this, I usually get really outlandish answers. Well, they probably spend 40 hours a month, 50 hours a month, right? That's why, because that's the story we've told ourselves. In order to actually have a strong, thriving relationship with money, I got to be putting in 40 hours and I don't have that. The answer was 8.4 hours a month. 8.4 hours a month. And the under accumulators, it was 4 hours a month or something like that, right? And if I was honest, if someone had asked me, however many years ago when I was $80,000 in debt, how much time, Miata, are you spending every month working on your money? The honest answer would have been none. That doesn't mean I wasn't working hard, 11 part-time jobs. That doesn't mean I wasn't hustling, but working on my money, understanding it, developing systems for it, growing it, learning about it. No time, right? So first of all, we have to get real about, are we willing to spend a little more than 2 hours a week working on this relationship that frankly is the foundation for every single thing you're up to in the world? And then once the answer is yes, then the question becomes, what exactly is that work? What does that look like? Because worrying about it
is not working on it.
doesn't count. I have that number of hours a month, in the bag.
Yeah. And I would just say also, if we're really taking this a notch up, when we worry about something, we are really just attracting more worry. We're not attracting more abundance, as you're saying. We're not going in that direction of it. And again, we're not woo-wooing this. We're not saying just think money will come my way. But if we're really working on it, we're creating a plan. You know what I mean? We also have our mindset in the way of, great. As much time as it takes me to worry about this is the same amount of energy I can put into fixing this problem, right? You know what I mean? And so you said 11 jobs, you know what I mean? Then great, maybe I need to get a 12th one, or I need to figure this out. I think that's where you're going with that, right?
I needed to definitely not get a 12th one, right?
No, right. I'm just saying as an example.
But I needed to look at, there was so much I didn't understand. I didn't understand how much I actually needed, right? I was very in the whole fantasy world about that. And I also really believed that it was just about working hard. No. And that to me is another real paradigm or mindset shift that we all have to make. You can be working unbelievably hard. That doesn't mean you're working in the right direction, right? It doesn't mean that you're doing things that are actually moving you forward. And so when the powerful ways in which you support all of us as actors in getting clear about what is our vision for our careers, right? What then are the goals that actually move us towards that vision? But I think then where your work in that area becomes incredibly powerful and impactful is what are the specific action steps, the specific tasks that I am committing to executing in order to reach those goals, in order to increase the likelihood that I build a career and a life that lines up with my vision, right? But it does come down to the action steps. And it's exactly the same when it comes to our money, right? I have a vision about the kind of financial life. I might say I have a vision of a debt-free, right, financial life. I have a vision of a financial life that is peaceful, that doesn't bring a lot of stress into my life. I have a vision of a financial picture that allows me to contribute in meaningful ways to the things and issues that are really important to me in this world. So all of those things are my vision. But then I'm going to have specific goals. So I'm going to have specific goals about the amount of debt that I will be paying off in the coming year. I'm going to have specific goals. How do I achieve a peaceful financial life? I believe that a huge part of that is in my tracking systems and my understanding. So I may have a goal of learning and setting myself up with financial software. So, but then those goals, there are daily, weekly, monthly tasks that I need to be executing on. Yeah. And if we're not doing that with our 2-ish hours a week, 8+ hours a month, then we're kidding ourselves that we're actually strengthening the relationship the same way that I don't get to just sit and talk about all the dramatic television shows that I'm watching in order to really see the kind of work that in my vision I want to be doing and thinking that that is going to translate into a career. I can train, as it is incredibly important that I do, and be working on my craft to build myself as a dramatic actor. But at the end of the day, I can be the best. And that doesn't necessarily translate into a career. That starts coming down to the actions, right?
Yeah. I would just add to that because that was a whole word in itself. You know what I mean? That was beautiful. As I was looking, I'm a visual person, the pyramid or the steps, we'll say in this is, you know, you said your vision for your career, we got our goals for our career, then we got our specific action steps, right? That we have to take. And this could be for anything we put in a part of our vision. I just would go back in there and add, if you aren't in every step or at the foundation of that, course correcting, putting in alignment your mindset, this whole thing will fall apart.
Absolutely.
This whole thing will fall because I can work towards a goal. You know what I mean? I used to get my self-worth off of production. Do you know what I mean? Like how much I did and produce, not anymore, but like, so give me a goal. But if my mind isn't right, if the things that I'm working on, this money, like all that stuff, and I'm going to tell this for the first time in front of Miata. I haven't said this in front of anybody else publicly. My business was in the red last year, my coaching business. And I look at my numbers. I have a bookkeeper. They send me a thing every month and I keep going. Right. And I was like, all right, it looks good. I'm not there. What I didn't do, I was betting, I was looking at those numbers and I was looking at my bank account and I was like, cool, we're still good. But I wasn't really pulling apart the thing. And then at the end of the year, because I was like, good, I got people on my side right now. At the end of the year, and I'm going somewhere with this, but at the end of the year, my CPA talked to me, he's like, what is going on inside of your business? And I was like, we're good, right? Look at the money. It's like, no, you need to look at the P&L and go all the way down and see what your business is doing. And basically my acting was funding my dream. And I'm okay with it right now. Everybody that's listening, I'm okay with it because my dream has funded my acting, but my business has funded my dream a lot too. So we want to get it back in the black on that other one. So now that I know, but I tell that story because 2 years ago, my bookkeeper said, DaJuan, if I had had this conversation with you, you would have fell apart. But right now you're like, I'm about this money. Let's figure this piece out. I know where I went wrong. I won't make this mistake again. And that is the muscle that we have built together, Miata, because you kept telling me like, you're going to get it. You didn't know this, you're going to get it. And I was so scared. Somebody told me, or I picked up along the way, because I didn't get it on his first try. I thought I was dumb at money. I thought I couldn't understand money. I don't understand numbers. I'm not great at math. So you know what? When numbers start coming up, I check out. Yes. So now what my bookkeeper says, DaJuan, you check in. I said, yeah. When you got that much on the line, when they told me I could basically quit my business, y'all listen, I could quit my business and still float and have profit from just residuals on my acting. And they're like, get rid of this. I was like, all right, so something got to give. But that was what you always told us. If I walked into your house and asked you, show me your financials, and you didn't have to go to a little bin and it wasn't in a file or something like that. And I was like, don't come to my house, but it is now. I said, no, but it is now. And so that is what I'm saying about like, we have to just take this head on. We have to take it head on and not be scared of it.
And not be, and here's the other thing that thank you so much for sharing that story, because I feel like honesty is what helps us all grow. And here's something that we talk about a lot on the Abundance Bound team. We do 3 things at Abundance Bound, and I'll say them again: mindset, management, making more. We are helping people become champions in those 3 areas. Here's the reality. Okay. The reality is that they go in this order of importance: mindset, management, making more. That's the order of importance they actually go in. But what do we as human beings want?
Make more.
Making more, management, mindset. Yeah. We believe that making more will handle the mindset. We also mostly believe making more will allow me to get someone else to manage it, right? And it's that way of thinking that is keeping us stuck. But the other reason the mindset is so important is because, as you just shared with your story, doing the work does not mean everything is now going to be perfect. Okay. DaJuan, I have shared very openly with our members. Last year was as a family, it was our worst financial year in years. And the reason for it was that we faced a significant health emergency with our oldest daughter. And so it was a very challenging year because there was an enormous amount of emotion and fear. She was diagnosed at 20 with epilepsy. And so, but we spent thousands of dollars. And we have incredible health insurance, but there was so many situations that required us to pour so much money into it. Am I happy about when I look at our numbers for last year? No. But I'm also not spiraling at all in the way that I did years ago before doing all of this work. I know that we are doing the best that we can, and I know that we will continue to do the work and we will get through it. So I don't have energy going anymore to, oh my gosh, they're dead again, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not doing that. And that's huge. Because yes, I've been doing this work myself for more than 20 years. It doesn't mean the shit isn't going to hit the fan sometimes. It still is. But we have to have been building the muscle to stay in the game.
Yeah. And I want to be clear, like we're talking about these side businesses a little bit too, but one of the things that I think this muscle has afforded me is when I get into contract negotiations for our acting. If something comes out and they're like, this is 6,500 for one day on this show or whatever, and I'm like, was everybody else getting that? You know what I mean? That is a different mindset going into that, than I've ever had. When I found out that one of my co-stars on another show, I'm going to just say it like that, was making more than me. And I was like, well, we were told that it was going to be the same. I could talk about money differently without my deep shame, well, we don't talk about money, I'm just going to back away from it, or anything around it. I was like, no, I'm about this money too, because I get to eat. And that was built on top of all this stuff. So, I don't know if you see that with negotiations or contracts or people. You work with a lot of actors or creatives, I'll just say, that have to deal with money. And we got to get this right, or we're going to continue to be everybody thinks we're getting paid so much money. We're not.
We're not.
We're not even going to talk about streaming stuff because
we're not. And yes, so it's so interesting, right? Because we don't get to say, oh, I'm not good with numbers. Oh, I'm not right, to shut down around that stuff. We've chosen because we are passionate about walking whatever the road is that you've chosen to walk, and clarity about that path, clarity around the path of an actor means we have to be willing to learn. I'm so bad at math. My members laugh because I will be explaining something and I've got my calculator and now they will courageously be like, Miata, I don't think those calculations are right. And I'm like, oh, great, let's fix them. But you can be bad at math and still have a great relationship with money. So all of those stories, again, they're just stories.
They're borrowed beliefs is what I call them. They're borrowed beliefs, and more so they are expired beliefs that we have to get rid of, or excavate, get in there and see them and excavate on that. I love how I really wanted to bring that up. I hate to bring this up because I don't want to put any energy into this, but there is a little bit of a looming thing in our business that's on its way. Maybe it's what the entertainment industry has talked about for the next couple of months coming up. We are possibly on our way to the S word in May. You know what I mean? And I don't want to give anybody, because as soon as you say recession or you say strike, then people start to, but what do you foresee maybe, or how do we prepare? I don't know how to even broach this conversation because I'm not signing up for that, right? I think the same way this pandemic came and everybody's like, it's dipping, like, so what else should we be doing? We can sit in a corner, but it's like, go ahead.
Yeah. So this is a tough one. And it's a tough one because I just want to go on record as saying, right, it's never too late to start working on improving your financial relationship, right? It's never too late. However, we also have to recognize that, again, we exist in a business that has a high level of uncertainty. Mm-hmm. Strike or no strike.
She said the word.
She said the word. This business has always had a high level of uncertainty. Mm. So what we have to stop doing, I believe, is putting all of our energy into what could happen. Absolutely, it can happen. I had zero concept ever that in my lifetime I would live through a global pandemic. Zero concept. What I will tell you that was so interesting for me as someone who's been doing this work with Abundance Bound for so long is I was able to watch the way our members who had been in this conversation for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, the way they negotiated the pandemic versus the people who came to us in the pandemic. And we were right in there helping the people who came to us in the pandemic. But that's the point that I feel it's important to make. If this year it's a S word, what's it next year? What's it 5 years from now? And we have to stop pretending. It's like one of the things I always say, you drive a car, the car is going to break down. It's going to. So why do we keep acting like it's a full-fledged emergency when it breaks down? We do because we keep pretending it won't happen. We have a member who a year or so ago really made the decision that she was going to be trained in coding and increase her skills in coding. And she continues to work as an actor. She's doing a show right now. And she also works for a company, a tech company. And she came to one of our Q&As and she shared that last week, something like 180 employees at the tech company were laid off, right? And she wasn't laid off, but she said, I suddenly feel like this other thing that I'm doing is also not secure. And the conversation we had is, if we're clear, if we're truly clear, nothing is promised. Nothing is, okay? There are differing levels of uncertainty and instability in different businesses, but this is where the mindset comes in. Are you going to choose to be someone who prepares to the best of your ability and understands that there will be things that happen that hit us, right? As you and I have both shared, we in our own ways got knocked a bit last year. Those things are always going to happen. How are we preparing for this one and the next one and the next one?
Yeah. I love that. And I, in our last couple moments, I want to talk about your membership, if you don't mind, because I've been hearing about it, but I thought about what you were saying, and I'm not apologizing for this at all. I was just about to, that's why I said that. I was just about to apologize for what I was about to say about me during the pandemic. We bought a second house during the pandemic, and, interest rates were down to 2.5, and I wanted to refinance our first home. But then while I was refinancing, I was like, I think we're good in this area. We got kids, we want to move to a new area. And so we pulled money out of that house. We pulled money out of that house and put it onto our new house. But I'll tell you this, everybody, did I do it afraid? Yeah. Because I had never done this before, not because I was scared. I had just never done. And there was a lot of numbers and a lot of papers that we were signing. But one of the things that I understood was I have the wherewithal to go through all of this and just like track and read all this stuff. And what I found out that I did not know what was going to happen, the money I pulled out of the home was $100,000 and put it back into the house at a 2.6 interest rate we got on this home was less than what I was paying at the 4.2. My monthly mortgage was less than I was going to pay to pull that money out, put it on my new home and do that. And I was like, this is how these MFers have been doing this. They have just gotten smart to take these, what we think are, non-big risk, but it is a smart, educated risk that I took in that time. And I'm like, and now the interest rates are like 7, or 8%, and they're like up there. And I'm like looking at, and everybody's like, yeah, I had to put down a lot. We had to put down a lot, but I had saved a lot myself and done. And so I just think you can do this. And really, I just have to say that I wasn't that person. This is not me sitting in front of you 10 years ago.
It's not me sitting in front of you, right? I mean, I came to this a hot mess, right? I mean, a total mess. One of our frameworks that I think is really important is that I feel really in all areas of our lives, but particularly when it comes to money, we are always operating in one of two cycles. We're either operating in what we call the power cycle or the pain cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And fundamentally, the difference between the two is when I'm operating in the pain cycle, I am making most of my decisions led by emotion, okay? Whether that's fear, whether that's excitement, whatever it is. When I am operating in the power cycle, I am making my decisions from clarity. Now, there's never perfect clarity. We never know everything. But the story you just shared about being able to sit and look at the paperwork, and yes, it's going to be scary, right? But saying, how much information do I have? And then I will make the best possible decision with the best information that I have at this point. When we make our financial decisions from emotion, right? When I see people who are buried and overwhelmed by debt, and so they pick up the phone when there's a commercial and they make a call to one of these companies and they sign up for one of these plans. That is pain cycle, because what often happens is there was a lot of clarity you didn't have about this decision that you're making. And so the fear, the emotions are normal, and they're always going to be there because we're human beings, we're not robots, but they can't lead our decisions. That's where working to get clarity helps us say, yes, I feel this, and I'm going to do this because of this information I actually have.
Yeah, I want to sum that little piece up, because there's a nugget in there for everybody. That the thing out there that people are saying is, when you make a decision like this, it's going to instantly feel good. It's going to not have fear attached to it. You're going to like walk in there like, I just signed away, $500,000 or whatever it is, and it feels good. And I think what I also heard you say in that moment was, it can still feel scary, but you're doing it with a little bit of clarity, and you're doing it with, I'm a little scared because I don't know, I've never done this before, right? And how this is going to shake out. But I did it from a smart place, or I don't want to use that word smart. I did it from a place of clarity, and I think that is a nugget I just pulled out of. Sometimes I was like, I'm scared. All right. I don't know who's.
It doesn't go away, right? Yeah. The emotions are human. It's, are they leading? Make the decision. Oh, I'm not refinancing because, all that paperwork and all those. No, that's scary. 100,000. No, I'm not doing it. Then we're led by the emotion. You could also have come in, gotten some clarity, and said, for this reason and this reason, I'm choosing not to move forward with this. It doesn't, as you said, mean either decision is going to feel fabulous.
Right.
But I do believe that the ongoing practice of making decisions from clarity, whether they end up being right or wrong, which I'm putting in quotes for those of you who can't see me, the practice of making decisions from clarity makes you stronger, right? Yeah. Which positively affects everything moving forward.
I would say also, I made a decision for my vision, by the way. When we're talking about that, I made a decision for my vision, and the vision was, I said, I would not get out of this house. I remember it clearly. I said, if we cannot keep it and rent it, because I'm trying to build generational wealth for my kids. I want my kids to not have something like I didn't have for ask their parents for or whatever. I was very clear on that. And I said, can we run the numbers? I talked to my people. Can we run the numbers where we get to keep this house and rent it out, and we get to pull money out and do that? If we can't, then I'm not selling this house, because getting a piece of land in anywhere in the world, I think, is so important. And yeah, my kids might be like, I'm not keeping this house, but that is a decision they'll have money on, that we have invested in, that we have been doing. And I'm going to be honest with everybody out there. I could not have foreseen this for myself. I could not. This is so many like steps along the way that I took, and not all have been great. I still am like, gosh, this is dead. Can I use this credit card or not? But I was very clear on the vision of I am creating generational wealth for these two little beings and myself, by the way, you all. Even don't leave me out of it. Miata, I want to just like land this plane and say, you've talked so much about abundance bound, right? You've talked so much about, can you give us a excerpt about like what, I know we do a lot in there. I know we talked about, how the mindset and management you talked about and making more money and all that stuff, but it sounds like you have some group calls that go on in there. And it sounds like some stuff as programs are happening. Tell me what happens in abundance bound except putting my picture up. I don't know. Just
yes. Other than that. So yes, the financial empowerment program, that is our core program. It's where I believe that we are doing the very best work and most important work given our mission. Mm-hmm. And so the financial empowerment program is a membership. Mm-hmm. And it's a membership where you are supported in moving through a very clear member roadmap. There are 3 milestones that we want you to hit that we believe are the milestones to having an unbelievably strong financial foundation. Mm-hmm. And along each milestone, you have exact action steps to get you to milestone 1, to milestone 2, and to milestone 3. And the action steps in each milestone, there are management action steps, there are mindset action steps, and there are making more action steps. Within the membership, there are 2 management group coaching sessions every month. There is 1 mindset group coaching session every month. There are 2 milestone Mondays where it's like, where are you, DaJuan, on your roadmap? Let's talk specifically about where you might be stuck. And then there is a wealth of other support. We have a book club, we read together, we discuss the books. But what I want folks to be clear on is this to me, it's not theoretical. Over the last 18 years, we have gotten incredibly clear on the precise steps that need to be taken. And we will show you exactly how to take them, right? From wherever you're starting right now. So that's what I feel differentiates our program. And I also forgot that, yes, but sorry, people can read because I don't want to say a bunch of stuff. But, and the cost of being a financial empowerment program member for 1 year, given what you get, I refuse to make any excuses for it because it is simply, I took a stand about making this program accessible, and it is as accessible as we can make it and still serve in the way that we serve.
You also get to make a profit, everybody. You know what I mean? That's the thing that we don't talk about in businesses. And we think we got to be shamed because we get to get paid for expertise, but that's 18 years of what we're doing. And, like sometimes when people want to work with me and I tell them, I said, listen, I'm not going to, if you don't want to pay that, investment, I understand it. But what I'm doing for you, what I believe you're doing for everyone out there is you are collapsing time. You are collapsing time. You could learn this in 18 years, or you can help. There is a steep learning curve here, and I'm going to collapse this time for you. I'm going to show you this mindset. I'm going to show you this management. I'm going to help you make more money, and I'm going to be inside of there with book clubs, community, accountability. I refuse to do that too, and I've done it so much, before my past because I don't want actors to think that guess what? Think it.
And I want to say this also as a mindset piece that I think is really, really important. We need to stop having any kind of attitude about what anything costs. That is none of our business. We get to, as individuals, decide whether we are choosing to invest in something or not. Do not shame people for charging what they charge to be of service in this world. Because if we're doing that to others, what that mindset is going to do to your ability to earn is really, really negatively impactful. So stop doing it. You get to choose. We are grown-ups, we are adults, and we get to decide what has enough value for where we are in the world right now, where we're going, the support we need, and then we get to decide where to put our dollars.
Miata, where can everybody find you? Where are they? Where can they find you? Tell them, just tell the people. I'll put it all underneath this podcast and this YouTube and everywhere else we're going to put it. But I want to make sure that you just say it, just in case people are on a walk right now and they have to stop. They have to put it in their phone. They have to write it down. Where can they find you?
We are easy. We are at abundancebound.com. And we're on Instagram, and we have even made the leap onto TikTok, and at all of those places, we are at Abundance Bound.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us today.
Thank you, DaJuan. Thank you.
Whew. Oh my, oh me, oh my, oh my. Miata came correct in this podcast. It was definitely all of the stats that did it for me. She was like, these are the receipts. These are the receipts. Why do we believe we must still struggle in this industry like our fellow actors did decades ago? Why have we not changed the mental script? You know, for my D12 shot, I thought I might do something a little different since I read an email beforehand, right? That I thought I would read one more to close us out. So this one might be a long one. So, stand in there, hang in there with me for this one. And this is an email I got from another actor that we'll just say this person's name is Sam. How about that? We'll say this person's name is Sam. And this is about me offering a $30 reader session or self-tape session for our actors that might want that particular service in their business, in their career. And so I offered it again in my Think Bigger Tribe. And this Sam wrote back and said, I'm not here for this. Actors already have to pour a majority of our hard-earned money into our acting careers because everyone is looking to make a buck off of already struggling actors. And many of us can barely afford to pay our rents despite working over 40 hours a week at our craft along with the various survival jobs. As if this wasn't already enough of a pay-to-play industry, now you're offering one more way to pay to audition? How many actors do you think you can afford $60 or more for every audition? This is a huge monthly bill. I'm so done and so disillusioned with all of you so-called actor advocates. Really thought you were different. Here's what I wrote back. I totally hear you on this front. And thank you so much for taking the time to send me your feedback. If you've been in the Think Bigger Tribe for any amount of time, you know that my heart is always in the right place. So much so that I have a free version of how to find the perfect reader for anyone that does not want to do a pay option, which that's all it is, an option. And that one is totally free. That perfect reader is totally free. I give a lot to my actor community at a low cost of free $99 all the time. My self-tape contest, where I give away 22 general spots with casting directors, agents, reps, and self-taping gear, again, all for free. Something I always say, I'm always trying to save my actors money. But that doesn't mean there aren't actors out there that love and need this option. Actors that want someone to fit in their busy schedule when they're working various survival jobs, as you said. So that's how this service was born. I'm sorry you are disillusioned by the industry and other coaches and teachers. I know that can't feel great, and I just want to acknowledge that, and I want to acknowledge you. And just so you know my stance, I don't subscribe to all actors are struggling, that they can't afford to get their things they might want for their career, that everyone is out to make a quick buck on them. That's all mindset, in my opinion. Not the mindset I live by or that I try to foster in the Think Bigger tribe. Again, thank you so much for your feedback and being a part of the Think Bigger tribe. Y'all, that's what I wrote back on that. Mindset, specific actions, goals, visions for your career. That's what's important. But remember, you have nothing without mindset. We must get away from the same thoughts of actors from the past. We do not have to do this career the same way they did it. We do not have to align ourselves with the struggle. We do not have to align ourselves with the delay. We do not have to have the same career. Okay, so many of our fellow actors are stuck in their limitations. There's no shame in knowing your numbers, staying afloat with another investment job while you are working hard to bring your dreams to fruition. I don't get many emails like this. I don't. I'm going to be honest. I don't. But when I do, they suck. They absolutely suck because I feel like I've spent a lot of my time giving back for free to my actor community, and I will continue. You get so much amazing value, that will help you skip the line by just joining my weekly newsletter for actors. You get mindset tips, you get career strategies, and more. Or by following me on Instagram or TikTok at Think Bigger Coaching. You get all of that stuff for free. But if you desire to coach with me, if you desire to work with someone, if you desire to work with someone who has been there and done that, who went to get a certification to be a life coach, to be a coach, who's worked on sets for 7 seasons of popular shows, who's ran an ABC Emmy-backed campaign, who can truly help you collapse time, there's an investment. And I am so proud to offer that to my Think Bigger tribe. I am proud, and I do it with intention. I'll say this again. Stop aligning yourself with the struggle, my fellow actors. It does not have to be hard. It doesn't. It's so interesting how we plop down in collective thought and believe all those thoughts so easily. Think different, believe bigger, think bigger. I'll say this at the end of everything. Remember, don't quit. Don't get out of line. Borrow my faith in you because I am rooting so hard for you. I'll see you out there in the socials. Share this podcast. Miata needs to be heard by some people, that want to talk about money. I'm on the interwebs, on all the stuff at Think Bigger Coaching. I can't wait to hear what you think about this podcast because, money seems to get under people's skin. Let's do better.